Can you tell me about how you met Grandma?
I met Grandma at the Luther League. We used to have a Luther League, in the church. And I met her through going to Luther League, and that was the way I met Grandma first. Yeah, got to know her and do things together, and we enjoyed each other, and the people and the young folks that belonged to Luther League. It was good company, and yeah.
And how long did you know her and before you got married?
Oh, I would say I can't tell you for sure, but around 6 months, maybe. Something like that. Something like 6 months, yeah.
And then you decided to get married, and you chose Valentine's Day. Tell me about that.
About Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day, yeah. It was. We picked that day. I don't know. Well, I think the main reason was because I was going to be drafted, and we said, well, we should get married, and I go in the service, and everything would be okay. So.
Do you remember where you were married at?
Oh yeah, Redfield. In the parsonage at Redfield. We were married in the parsonage. It was on a Sunday. Yeah. Clyde was stood up for me. Yeah. My brother.
And when was that? What year? What year?
Oh, in 1943, in February. February 1943. Yep. February 1943. We were invited out to for Cleora's dead mother, and we had a real good dinner there. Gee, there was quite a family there. The house was full. Yeah, house was full. People. Yeah. And yeah, they had a charivari on us. I don't know whether you know what a charivari is. It was in the wintertime, of course, in February, and it was snow on the ground, and the people came, the farmers around there came on their sleds, horses and sleds, and interview us. And we had candy, Milky Way, and Snicker bars, and YB cigars.
Mm.
Handed them out to the treat. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you go anywhere?
Never went anywhere. Just never went anywhere. Just stayed right there. We were snowed in. Yeah. Yeah. My grandma gave each one of the boys an Elgin watch before they went overseas, and they carried their watch. It was a little Elgin watch set in a leather case, wristwatch, and they carried it with him all through the war. And then when he came back, he used to tell us boys about what he'd done in the war, and I always took a liking to the watch. I liked it. He let me carry it some days, all day long. But he says you got to, because I liked it so. And he told me, you got to give it back to me tonight, though. You can have it for one day only. So that was okay. Well, then on his dying, when he was dying, on his dying bed, I visited him, and he said, Clark, I'm going to give you this watch. Of course, that was good news to me. So he gave me the watch. Then I was drafted in the army, and so I took the watch right along with me, and I carried the watch through World War II. So it went through 2 world wars. That same watch went through 2 world wars. Isn't that something?
Yep.
It is something. And it got so old and worn out that it stopped. It didn't run anymore, and I threw it away. I should never have thrown it away. Nowadays, they would have kept that for keepsake, you know.
Yeah.
But I threw it away. And that's that story.
Tell me about your rifle from the Army.
My rifle, I still remember the serial number on it, 1609011. That's the serial number, and I carried the same rifle all the way through the war. 1609011.
And they called it the
M1.
M1 Garand.
Right. Yeah, M1.
The U.S. rifle caliber 30 M1, commonly known as the Garand, is not only a dependable weapon, it also has a terrific wallop, better known as firepower. Whether you're in the field or in the shop, if you know your weapon thoroughly, you can keep it firing.
.30 caliber.
Yeah, 30 caliber.
30 caliber.
And it was a 30-06
Yeah.
shell.
Yeah.
And they had 4 different types, and I'm curious if you used these 4 types. They had a regular, and then they had the incendiary, they had armor piercing, and then tracer.
Yep.
Did you use those different kinds?
Yeah, they were usually right on a clip, you know. They would mix them up, you know, as you fire them.
Oh, they would mix them up.
Yeah, you'd shoot one, and then another. One would be a tracer, and then one would be this, and one would be that, and
did you ever get? I was looking into your gun, and they talked about it's called a Garand thumb, where you accidentally get pushing the clip in, and you get your thumb caught.
Yeah.
Did you ever have that happen to you?
No, it never happened to me, but it did happen.
And
Yeah.
it hurt?
I imagine it did hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dear.
I bet you had the cleanest service weapon of the entire Army.
Yeah.
Did you clean it often?
Clean it as often as I could. Yeah. And that's something. Yeah. I was standing, this was after the war. This was in Germany yet. After the war, I was standing by a friend of mine, two friends of mine. We have a picture, I have a picture of it. We were standing with arms around each other, and this guy, another friend of ours, he just come off guard, and he come off guard, and he, of course, guards then yet carried a loaded rifle. In other words, it was loaded, ready to go. And he come off guard and was just fooling around. He didn't mean to think he was going to do that at all. But he had his finger on the trigger, because that's always the way they had it, the trigger on the finger. And he pulled, and he was standing right by a friend of mine and a friend of his. He shot the rifle and shot him right through the stomach. Went clear through his stomach and into a bedstead that was standing there. We had old wooden bedsteads, they're double bunkers. And I gave blood for him in Antwerp, Belgium, for his life, but he didn't live. He died coming home on a plane. Yep. Yep. Joe Torres. Joe Torres. He lived in Louisiana. Nice guy.
What are some of the best memories that you have? The good times, things that come to mind when you just remember that was a good time.
Of course, the best was when I come home from the war. That was the best times that I had. And the most beautiful sight that I ever had was when we were 13 days at sea in a Victory ship coming back, and we'd run into a really bad storm in the Atlantic, and I didn't think I'd ever see New York. And when we finally got to New York, it was early in the morning, or the sun was just coming up. In the morning, the sun was just coming up, and the sky was clear, of course. The sun was just coming up, and it was calm, and I looked up. We passed the Statue of Liberty. I was a stone's throw from the Statue of Liberty, and what a beautiful sight. And then the sun was just coming up, and that was the most beautiful sight. The sun was just coming up, and I looked up, and there was the Statue of Liberty. And it was a beautiful...
And you knew you were home.
I knew I was home, yeah.
And that's what made it beautiful?
Yeah, and you knew it was home.
And then after the war, then a couple years after the war, or a year after the war, approximately when you got back, then she was pregnant. Is that correct?
Yeah. And then Marilyn was born,
Now, you've told me in the past about an interesting story about when she was actually born and how you weren't allowed to go to the hospital much. And they had to stay at the hospital and you weren't allowed to see. And do you remember some of that? You can talk about that a little bit?
Oh yeah, Marilyn was in the hospital. She got the measles, and she was in the hospital. They wouldn't release her from the hospital. She had to stay there. She was quarantined. What I want to say. She was quarantined, so we couldn't see her. We could see her through the window, but we couldn't we couldn't see her. We couldn't be with her. And then they come to me, and I was telling you tell them about their kids growing up, and I told them about the story about this is about your mother. And the kids, when they'd have show and tell at school, in the lower grades, they'd have you show and tell, and they'd do in a room. Teacher you would be next, you're next, you're next, and they come to Marilyn, and Marilyn says, you tell them what your parents did, and she said, my dad licked stamps. Can you imagine? Yeah, everybody got a big laugh out of that, because I did lick stamps, but I did everything under the sun in the post office. But that was fine. Yeah. Marilyn says, my dad licked stamps for a living. Yep. Yeah, Marilyn, she was quite a Marilyn. Some of the memories in St. Cloud. Golfed a lot.
Yeah.
Golfed a lot. An awful lot. All through my life. Cleora used to golf too, and she was a good golfer. She beat me once, and she'd never forget it. She kept telling us the same story. She was a good golfer. Yeah.
She beat you once, huh?
Uh-huh. She beat me once, and she was pretty good. Yeah.
You guys played in some fun little tournaments.
Oh yeah. Cleora played in a tournament in Falkland, South Dakota, and she's got a plate that had, I don't know whatever happened to that. It was a kind of a trophy, and she was winner of that.
And you had some success on the golf course too, didn't you?
Played on in Arizona. I almost got a hole in one. I did get a hole in one in Arizona. Yeah, you get a hole in one on a par 3 course, real short course. No, I had one hole in one. Then I played on the championship course in Scottsdale, which is the Phoenix Open.
Mm-hmm.
Played on that course after the tournament was over, and then you could come in there and play. I almost got a hole in one on hole number 3. Huh. Yeah, that's the way that went, Ryan.
Do you remember when we would fly in to Redfield?
Yep.
And how did that go?
That went fine. But you know that time when you was west of Aberdeen. South Dakota, and you and your dad and me was in the plane. And you let the landing gear down. We were high up above. You pulled the lever on the landing gear, and the landing gear came down. And of course, when that happened, it just give you a shake, and your dad got it right away and got it back where it was supposed to be. And he scolded you for doing it.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
All of these lines across my face tell you the story of who I am. So many stories of where I've been, and now I've got to where I am. But these stories don't mean anything when you've got no one to tell them to. It's true, I was made for you. I climbed across the mountain tops, swimming across the ocean blue, across all the lines, and I broke all the rules. But baby, I broke them all for you. Oh, but even when I was flat broke, you made me feel like $1,000,000. You do. I was made for see the smile that's on my mouth, hiding the words that don't come out. All of my friends who think that I'm blessed, they don't know my head's a mess. No, they don't know who I really am, and they don't know I've been through like you do. I was made for you. All of these lines across my face tell you the story of who I am. So many stories of where I've been, and now I've got to it's true, I was made for